I walked into a mall in the Philippines thinking, alright, this should be quick. Probably a few small shops, maybe a food court, then I'm out. That was my mindset, confident, relaxed, completely wrong. The automatic doors opened and I literally froze in place like my brain needed a software update. The ceiling was so high I instinctively looked for clouds. Escalators were moving in every direction like a transportation system from the future. And the sound wasn't quiet mall music. It was alive, buzzing, echoing with laughter, footsteps, and energy. For a split second, I honestly wondered if I had accidentally walked into an airport, a theme park, or some secret underground city. People were everywhere, dressed up, smiling, moving with purpose. And I'm standing there holding my phone like, wait, this is a mall? I took a few steps forward and the place just kept opening up. One section led to another, then another, like the mall had no ending. Giant digital screens flashed ads. A massive chandelier hung above like it belonged in a luxury hotel. And I remember laughing to myself thinking, okay, maybe I'm lost. There's no way this is normal. I turned to my friend and said, bro, are you sure this isn't the biggest mall in the country? He looked at me completely serious and said, this one? Nah, this is one of the smaller ones. That's when my heart skipped a beat. Because at that exact moment, I realized something important. Everything I believed about malls in the Philippines was about to be challenged. Today, I'm comparing malls in the USA versus the Philippines, and I promise you this. By the end of this video, you're going to question everything you thought you knew. Once the initial shock wore off, I decided to actually explore instead of standing there like a confused tourist. I started walking, trying to process what I was seeing, and that's when the funny moments kicked in. First of all, the mall just kept going. Every time I thought, okay, this must be it, another section opened up like a bonus level in a video game. I stepped onto an escalator, and not just one escalator, but an escalator that led to another escalator, which then connected to a glass bridge overlooking an entire floor of restaurants. I caught myself laughing because back home in the USA, an escalator usually just takes you up. Here, it felt like an adventure. Then I noticed something even funnier. People weren't rushing. They weren't stressed. Families were strolling like it was a park. Couples were taking selfies. Kids were running around like this was their weekend playground. I saw a group of teenagers filming TikToks in front of a giant LED screen, security calmly watching like, yeah, this happens every day. I walked past a coffee shop, then suddenly I'm staring at an indoor garden with real trees and a fountain, and I actually said out loud, why is this nicer than my local park? A few minutes later I smelled food, and not just food but every kind of food. Burgers, sushi, street food, desserts I couldn't pronounce but absolutely needed to try. I ordered something random, sat down, and realized I'd been inside the mall for almost an hour without even noticing the time. That's when it hit me. This place wasn't designed to make you shop and leave. It was designed to make you stay. And that realization planted the first seed of a question in my mind. How does this compare to malls back in the USA? That question followed me everywhere, because once I started thinking about malls in the USA, the comparison became impossible to ignore. I've spent years walking through American malls. Big parking lots, automatic doors, straight hallways. The same familiar stores lined up like copy and paste. You walk in, you shop, you grab a pretzel and you leave. Simple, efficient, predictable. But standing inside this Philippine mall, I realized how different the feeling was. Here, the mall didn't feel like a building designed around stores. It felt like a place designed around people. I tried to imagine this exact setup back home and started laughing to myself. Because if you dropped this mall into the middle of an American suburb, people would probably get lost for 3 days. I kept exploring and the surprises didn't stop. One minute I was passing high-end luxury brands that looked like they belonged on Fifth Avenue. The next minute I turned a corner and there was a full-on indoor playground with parents sitting nearby like this was totally normal. In the USA, if you see a playground in a mall, it's usually a tiny plastic slide in the corner. Here, it looked like something kids would refuse to leave even after closing time. I remember thinking, okay, maybe this mall is just an exception. Then I visited another one, and they all had this same energy. Music playing, events happening, people hanging out like the mall was their meeting point, not just a shopping stop. At one point, I walked into a mall atrium and accidentally interrupted a live performance, complete with lights, speakers, and a cheering crowd. I just stood there like, did Did I pay for a concert ticket without knowing? Back in the USA, malls are often quiet, sometimes even empty, especially on weekdays. Here, no matter the day or time, the place felt alive. And that's when the comparison stopped being about size or brands and started becoming about something deeper. Why one type of mall feels like a quick errand, and the other feels like a destination you don't want to leave. By this point, the curiosity had completely taken over me, because the difference was too obvious to ignore. I started paying attention to the little details, the things you don't notice unless you're really looking. In the USA, malls are usually built for convenience. Park close, get what you need, and get out before you get bored. But here in the Philippines, everything felt intentional, almost strategic. The seating areas weren't hidden in corners. They were everywhere, inviting you to sit down and stay longer. There were open spaces where people gathered, not just to shop, but to talk, laugh, and relax. I noticed grandparents sitting with kids, teenagers hanging out for hours, couples on what looked like full-on dates inside the mall. It started to feel less like a shopping center and more like a town square. Then something else stood out: air conditioning. I know that sounds funny, but hear me out. Outside, the heat was intense, the kind that makes you question your life choices. Inside the mall, perfect, cool, comfortable, and welcoming. I watched people walk in from the street and instantly relax, like the mall itself was giving them a hug. That's when I realized why these places were always full. They weren't just malls, they were escapes, safe spaces, social hubs. I kept asking myself, okay, but what's the catch? Because surely there had to be something the American malls did better, right? Bigger brands, better layout, more luxury? I was building this question in my head, stacking evidence on both sides, knowing that by the end of this journey, one answer would finally tip the scale. And the closer I got to that answer, the more I felt the suspense building, because the truth was not what I expected at all. After days of walking through mall after mall, comparing notes in my head like some kind of shopping detective, the moment of truth finally arrived. I sat down on a bench in the middle of yet another massive Philippine mall, exhausted, surrounded by noise, laughter, music, and the smell of food coming from every direction. And that's when it clicked. The secret wasn't size, it wasn't luxury brands. It wasn't even how modern the buildings were. The real difference was purpose. American malls are built around transactions. You go in to buy something, and once that's done, there's no real reason to stay. Philippine malls are built around life. They're designed for people to spend time, to meet friends, to cool down, to celebrate birthdays, to watch shows, to eat together, to exist. I watched a family take group photos in front of a mall Christmas display like it was a tourist attraction. I saw kids dragging their parents toward arcades and toy stores while the parents laughed instead of rushing them along. I even saw office workers still in suits sitting with milk tea, clearly in no hurry to leave. And that's when I realized why these malls felt so alive. They weren't just competing with other malls. They were competing with parks, cinemas, restaurants, and even homes. In that moment, every American mall I'd ever visited replayed in my mind, and I couldn't unsee the contrast. It wasn't that USA malls were bad. They were just missing this one powerful ingredient: community experience, atmosphere. And once you see that difference, you can't ignore it anymore. So when I finally walked out of the mall and the heat hit my face again, I just stood there for a moment, completely still, like my brain needed time to catch up with what I had just experienced. I came into this thinking it would be a simple comparison. USA malls versus Philippine malls, big versus small, modern versus basic. That's what the title and thumbnail promised, and that's exactly what I set out to test. But what I walked away with was something way deeper than I expected. The shocking truth was finally clear. Malls in the Philippines aren't built just to sell things. They're built to create life inside their walls. They're places where people spend entire days without rushing, where families celebrate birthdays, where friends meet after work, where kids grow up making memories, and where everyone, no matter their background, feels welcome. And standing there, I thought about all the malls I grew up visiting in the USA. How quiet some of them felt, how empty others had become, how most of the time you just went in, bought what you needed, and left. Here, leaving felt optional. I honestly felt like I could stay for hours more and still discover something new. And that's the part that shocked me the most. Not the size, not the lights, not even the crazy food courts, but the feeling, the warmth, the energy, the sense that this place was designed for people, not just purchases. So if you clicked this video thinking you might have clicked the wrong one, trust me, you didn't. You clicked exactly the right video. because now you've seen what most people never talk about. And if this story changed your perspective even a little, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because this is just one of many real experiences we're uncovering. Drop a comment and tell me honestly, after watching this, which would you rather visit, a mall in the USA or a mall in the Philippines? I'll see you in the next one.